Alright, viewers, continue our session on instructional planning and design. Now we have come to methods. Okay, remember we were discussing confusing professional terms about lesson plan, right? Okay, now remember this. Confusing professional terms about lesson plan. So the first confusing term is steps. We've explained that in the previous video, and the second is procedure, which we have shed a little light, and the third is method. So method, this is technical, okay, and it depends on the method. When you say method in instructional planning, when you use method or when you see method, it's a technical issue, and it depends on the following: the instructional designer's philosophy. It also depends on the learner or the audience, the type of learning outcome, in other words the behavioral objective. Depends also on instructional environment, that is the context of the context, the environment, the classroom, or the location, okay, or the social background of where the learning is taking place. Then work environment also matter. Where you work can also determine the method you use. There are some teaching methods, there are some teaching approach that are not supported in some environments, maybe because they rely on technology, or they rely on some other things that is beyond reach in that environment. Okay, so we have design constraint. Okay, so some constraint you have in the course or process of your design may also affect the method you choose. Some methods require more rigorous design than others, so it also depends on the design constraint. Okay, so what are the methods? When you say method of teaching, or when you say method in lesson planning or instructional planning, it has to do with the following things. Number one, we have direct instruction, where we have constructivism, and then we have differentiation. And it says every other term is contained in them. What this means is that as far as teaching method is concerned, as far as instructional method is concerned, they are categorized into three broad types. We have direct instruction methods, which is teacher-centered. This is the type, or this is the method that we are used to traditionally, whereby everything is centered on the teacher. The teacher, just comes into the class as usual, dishes out instruction and dishes out information and dishes out procedures, and the student sits, calmly, as they sit, in a disciplined fashion, and they are meant to listen on their seat work. So you also have constructivism, that is also known as learner-centered teaching method. Okay, whereby the learners are the ones that drive the learning process, and the teacher is only there to guide, to inspire, to stimulate, and to control, and then to evaluate. So this is a constructivism, and it's more rigorous, it's more time consuming, and it consumes more resources than direct instruction. Then we have differentiation, which we have dealt with in details in this in a very special session that is dedicated to differentiation. Okay, so differentiation is now for you to adapt your teaching to learner differences. Okay, now we have what are the teacher-centered instructional designs? Okay, what are the features of teacher-centered or direct instruction? It's either direct instruction or teacher-centered instructional design, whichever one you call it. What are the features? Number one, direct instruction is structured. You can see, if I may enlarge that, direct instruction is structured. That means it must follow a routine, must follow a procedure. Okay, it's teacher-centered approach, focus on academic activity. Yes, the point is just the academics. No much of fun, no much of coloration and other things, no much of drama. So, and it's also characterized by teacher direction, okay, and control. The teacher is like the general in the class. The teacher controls the class so much. High teacher expectation for student progress. So, the teacher expectation for student progress, or in other words, the standard of performance. The standard for performance is high. So, it is focused on keeping negative affect to a minimum. Okay, good. It is focused on controlling student, especially in the affective domain, or controlling student behavior, attitude, or their response and value orientation. Okay, now we have the learner centered, the teacher centered instructional design strategies. We have talked about the futures. Now let's talk about the strategies or the ways through which a teacher centered instructional design or a direct instruction can be carried out. Okay, number one is through orienting, giving orientation about something. That's a teacher centered. Then lecturing, explaining and demonstrating, questioning and discussing, mastery learning. Mastery learning is I think I need to explain that because it's the meaning does not follow the, does not, is not assured from the word. Mastery learning is when students are given a task, monitored by the teacher or guided by the teacher in such a way that after some expectations or some objectives have been achieved, the higher one, they are moved to the higher one. They are moved to a higher one, such that every learner works alone and works at his own pace, but still strictly directed by the teacher. So some learner may be at level 4 while others are at level 2. So that's just the difference. So they learn as they master it, they move to the next level. Okay, so this kind of learning where every student has his own time, but being seriously supervised by the teacher is called mastery learning. Seat work. Okay, we are all familiar with seat work. On your seat, not like group, not like jigsaw, nothing like, not, there's no flip or whatever is blended. All these words don't come. It's just the normal, seat work arrangement. Homework is also a direct instruction method. Okay, let's look at learner-centered method or learner-centered instructional design. It says it's called the constructivist approach. The constructivist approach is a learner-centered approach that emphasizes the importance of individuals actively constructing their knowledge and understanding with guidance from the teacher. Okay, in constructivist view, teachers should not attempt to simply pour information into children's mind. Rather, children should be encouraged to explore their world, discover knowledge, reflect, and think critically with careful monitoring and meaningful guidance from the teacher. Constructivists argue that for too long, children have been required to sit still, be passive learners, and rotely memorize irrelevant as well as relevant information. I think that is clear enough. So that is constructivist. That is the definition or the concept of what the constructivism or the constructivist or the learner-centered instructional design, right? Okay, now let's look at the common features. Some common features of the learner-centered lesson plan. The learner-centered lesson plan and instruction move the focus away from the teacher to the student or to the learner. The common strategies that are being used in this in learner-centered is what? Problem-based learning, whereby the teacher introduce a problem for the and task the student to solve that problem, and in course of solving that problem, they now get they acquire the knowledge, the requisite knowledge in that process. The broader objective is achieved in the process of trying to solve that problem. Then essential questions. The teacher uses questions to guide the learners by asking essential questions that are leading questions, questions that will stimulate their attention, and questions that will also scrutinize their uh, ignorance, and as well as no, the question that will scrutinize their own conception, their concept about a particular subject matter, and also expose their ignorance. So essential questions. And discovery learning. Discovery learning is when students are meant to explore, given opportunity to explore. They will discover, and then because you already have an idea of most of the things that are going to likely discover, so they come back to you for discussion. So this is that is that on methods, instructional method. Okay, when it has to do with instructional planning and design, the professional term known as method has to do with what? The teacher centered, which is the direct instruction, the learner centered, which is called constructivism, and then differentiation. Differentiation has been discussed in a separate um, session. So now we come to part 2, which is narrowing down to the objectives. Okay, how to plan highly interactive and effective lessons. Okay, now see, okay, let's do this quickly. In order to achieve interactiveness, we must learn in order to ensure that your lesson is interactive and is effective. When I say something is interactive, it is, it involves everybody. The teacher is getting enough feedback, and the teacher is creating room for students to participate, and then there is engagement, and there is a two-way communication instead of just a one-way. Okay, so that is when it's said to be interactive, and it's said to be effective if it could achieve the behavioral objective. An effective lesson or instruction is that which achieves the behavioral objective. Okay, now if you pay attention, when we say narrowing down to the objectives, it's not referring to the behavioral objective in your own lesson. It is referring to the objective from which we set out to carry out this training. Okay, now interactiveness. To achieve interactiveness, you need the following. Okay, 1, pre-teaching. You need pre-teaching. What is pre-teaching? If you want your instruction, your class, your lesson to be interactive, then use pre-teaching. Pre-teaching is for you to pick one question in the next topic as a summative evaluation in this topic. You pick a question in the subsequent topic as part of the last question in your summative evaluation in the present topic. I hope that is clear. So, for example, if you are teaching water, okay, and your next topic is soil, at the summative evaluation stage of your teaching water, what you do is, you, after asking them questions, give them assignment, especially over the weekend, since the weekend is always the bridge. So when you give them assignment to do on water, you pick one question on soil, most likely from the middle. Okay, so that before they are able to answer that question, they are going to skim or flip through on the topic of soil until they get there. Okay, when they do get there, they are able to answer the question. So by doing this, they must have acquired some idea about soil. So when you come to teach, they are willing to participate. They want to share what they know. So you can gain interactiveness in your class by pre-teaching. By your procedure, remember the ultimate. Remember when we talk about procedure? Ropes. Sorry, I'm a little bit sleepy. This is 2:30 a.m. So, if you remember the procedures, when we're talking about procedures, we highlighted some procedures: the Kellers, the Gans, the medallion hunter, and we talk about ropes, right? The ultimate is use the one that best suits your situation. So the procedure you use can also make the class interactive. Okay, so go back to the part where we talk about procedure in this very session, or the clip. Then you can review that. Then enrichment. Enrichment is for you to spice up your teaching by excursion, field trip, videos, and other stories and relevant stories, and and etc. Okay. Now, how to gain effectiveness? If you want to gain effectiveness, if you want your lesson to be effective, if you want your real objective to be achieved, then you must learn Bloom's taxonomy. You must learn Bloom's taxonomy. You must be a master of Bloom's taxonomy, especially in the cognitive domain. Especially in the cognitive domain, where you learn about the um, objectives in the pyramid, where the base is to recall, remember information, to recall information, and then after to understand what you are able to recall, and then to apply what you understand, and then to use what you can apply. Then you can now analyze. Then after that you can evaluate. Then after that you can create. Okay. So when doing this, you will also get acquainted with the relevant, verbs, specific verbs that can be used to evaluate. Okay. So when you say list, for example, you are talking about, you are still at the level of the recall or remember objective. When you say define, the same thing. When you say mention, the same thing. But when you say explain, that is understand. Okay. And so there are some questions that are also deals with application. For example, instead of asking a recall question to say what is the boiling point of water, you can simply say if a liquid boils at 100 degrees centigrade, that liquid is most likely this, that. So water can be in the option. So that is an application question. Okay, good. An analysis question is for you to look at, for you to cross match. That is analysis question. Then an evaluation question is to answer true or false. That is evaluation question and stuff like that. So Bloom's taxonomy and enrichment, is also, you can also see enrichment as a way of achieving interactiveness. Enrichment is also a way of achieving effectiveness. All right, so this is Bloom's taxonomy. You can see that here. Bloom's taxonomy in preparing instruction. Okay, good. All right, so now you can see that. Now let's go to the basics, which is to remember. Okay, remember, that is to retrieve relevant knowledge from long-term memory. Okay, that is remember. That's that level. The kind of questions you ask here is: can you recall? Where is? Who is? Can you? List? For? How would you? Now, so you don't know to waste time, you can always pause the video and look at it critically. Are you with me now? So the activities under remember is showing, naming, listing, restating, finding, recognizing, choosing, matching, and relating. Now, understand is to construct. So I will make them bold for you to be able to just read on your own. It has been prepared and it has been made didactic and very clear. So you can see what we have under understanding. Okay, you can see what we have under understanding. Okay, and then the next level is to apply. You can see what we have under application. Okay, then the next is to be able to analyze. You can see what we have under analysis or analyze. You can see that, right? Good. You can see what we have under evaluate, which is the next step above analysis. You can see evaluation. You can see the kind of questions and the kind of activities and the meaning of evaluation, or what evaluation entails. There you can see what create means. All right, so this is create. Under the objective of create, you can see what it means. You can see the kind of questions involved, and you can see the kind of activities that are involved. All right, thank you. So you can see how to apply Bloom's taxonomy in your classroom. Okay, you can see that here. Now you can see, for example, it's an example of how to apply it in your classroom. You can see this. So here is the remember, how to apply remember, how to apply understand in your classroom. Okay, you can always pause the video and rewind as you want. Okay, then you can see apply here, right? You can see apply, how to apply, um, apply your classroom. That sounds funny, right? Okay, you can see that here. Then you can see the assessment, the kind of assessment that are involved for each level. You can see it here. It's analyze. You can see. Okay, good. You can also see also evaluate, how to apply, evaluate your classroom. You can see that here. Okay, thank you. You can see that. You can see that here too. All right. So you can see that this is how to apply create. All right. So the next level is to plan an all-inclusive lesson through accommodation. When you plan your lesson, make sure you try as much as possible to carry everybody along, and the first way to do that is through accommodation. Okay, so as a means of accommodating or carrying everybody along, differentiation is one method of accommodation. Extended time is another method of accommodation, whereby you can find more time for some students to be able to learn. You can attend to them during break time or other periods. You can, make other arrangements for them. It's a means of accommodation. Differentiation, adapting your learning, your teaching, I beg your pardon. Adapting your teaching to learner differences is also a means of accommodation. You try to be accommodative to carry everybody along. Then communication means is also a means of accommodation. You can always change the language. Okay, there's nothing too bad if you have to speak the language of a learner, their local language, to them for a particular subject or topic you are teaching in physics, for them to just understand that point, and then return back to your lingua franca, which is English language, or whatever is your lingua franca where you are operating. Okay, and the Chinese don't speak English, and they're the best engineers today. Okay, they're the best scientists today. Now, differentiation. Talking about differentiation, you can see that. So we have done enough on differentiation in another um, uh, session, in another video, but just for you to look at what is involved or what it entails. These are just briefs. Okay, these are just briefs. Okay, so you can please refer to our video or our session on differentiation to get details of that. Due to its importance, we did a full session on differentiation. Okay, all right. So part 3, lesson planning hands-on. So we are about to go to the practical of lesson plan. We want to do the pre-practical now and show you how to write a lesson plan and show you samples of written lesson plan. So do take your time to digest this, watch it over again, and catch us up in the next video. The next video will be practicals on lesson plan. Thank you very much for your time. I will see you in the next video.